everybody. Happy Fangirl Friday. This is Anita Castellar. This is Fangirl Friday Live. I am happy to be here and hang out with you. And, every week, if you've been following along, we're normally, oh, I'm getting feedback from my own self on Facebook. But now, if you've been following along, you normally see that I have a host, I interview them, I, kind of go along and ask them about their career and their aspirations or anything that they've been working on the projects. But this time we're going to flip the switch and I'm going to be the one who's actually going to be answering the questions. And it's a little bit of a mayhem this week because we're actually also transmitting on Facebook. So we're trying to keep everything straight. So bear with us and please forgive us in advance if you see some crazy things happening here. But we're testing this out because we want to expand our platform and we want to expand our reach and talk to as many people as we can. So now actually I'm going to introduce Sonia Lillis. Hello Sonia, how are you?
Hello.
So Sonia actually is an advanced marketing intern for the Fangirl team. And she's going to be asking me all the questions. And hopefully you guys are going to be asking all the questions as well, because that's what we're all about today. Today is an Ask Me Anything session. As the young folks say, it's an AMA. And I want to be hip with the young kids, so that's why I'm here today, hopefully answering some questions from you guys. I have to admit I'm a little bit nervous because, like I said, I'm normally one asking the questions, so be nice. And why have we been kind of on hiatus a little bit? And I'm doing the questioning. I wanted to give you guys an update on myself and give a little bit background, but also to kind of explain. We've been doing some retransmitting. One is because we want to give more exposure to some of the older streams that we had in the beginning of our experiment with live streaming. But the other piece is, with everything that's been going on, I run a business and, it's pandemic and health. I took an extra long spring break. And that's probably the best way to say it, which is it was spring break time. We took a little time off, but there was a lot of things going on at the same time. And I felt like also I needed a mental break. I didn't realize how taxing creating content on a weekly basis could be. And in addition to my day job, which is running a licensing company, it just got a little bit much for me. Pandemic, health, some other things were going on. And I said, okay, we need a little extra time. So we did some retransmitting, some rebroadcasting, which was still great because, a lot of people who are now following us have never followed us before. And so they didn't get to see everything that we've done before. So I will put a plug in for our YouTube channel because that is also where you can find all the replays besides, whenever we decide to rebroadcast something. But I'm not sure if this is going to be on that YouTube channel. So we'll have to see how this goes. It might be a short session if nobody's gonna be on answering questions or asking questions with me. So thank you, Jen, for tuning in, or Jessica. Hey, Jessica. This is going to be part of an answer to a question. So I'm going to let Sonia take it away.
Hi, Anita. So how does it feel to be the guest instead of the host this time?
Super crazy. It's fun. I guess it's fun so far, but ask me again at the end.
Of course. So I guess the first question would be who is Fangirl? Who are you?
My name, as everybody can tell, is Anita Castellar. It's also Anita Castellar because I do speak Spanish. I'm probably about 80 to 90% if I'm really realistic about my linguistics. Because I was born in the States. I was born and raised in Philadelphia, went to college in Buffalo, New York, Canisius College, go Griffs. And came down here to Florida. I live in Florida now. And, kind of temporarily as I sorted my life out after college, ended up staying forever, met my husband, had some kids, set a career, and, that was like basically my adult life in Florida as it started. And then started to work at Disney, the Disney theme parks. And, that was really a great opportunity. I worked there 12 and a half years. I grew up in that organization. I learned everything I know basically about business starting there. And then in 2009, I got laid off. Everybody got laid off pretty much in 2009 though, because that's nothing to be embarrassed about. Because the economy tanked. Everything was really bad. People weren't going on vacations. Of course, Disney World is a vacation destination, and if you don't have a job, you can't go on vacation. So, and those who did come, it was limited spending. So, trickle down effect to myself and many other people. We were displaced in our work, and so then I got the good fortune to find a job at Hasbro in Rhode Island. So we went from Florida to Rhode Island. My two kids who had never really seen snow before, like, were like totally fascinated, and that was a great experience for them. Meanwhile, I had tried to get away from snow as much as I could. But working at Hasbro was amazing. I met so many wonderful people. You know, Shout out to Daryl Priest and Justin Crater, who were my hiring folks and gave me an opportunity to work there, and worked on Star Wars, the action figures and toys and board games and so many other things, and really learned about deep fandom engagement. If I didn't know before, I was getting a better primer there. Um, how to talk to the fans, how to give them what they want, all of those things in the form of toys and collectibles. And then I had the utmost good fortune to then join Lucasfilm in 2011, and I worked on Star Wars licensing. That's before the Disney acquisition. Went through the Disney acquisition, came back to being a Disney cast member essentially through that, and that's how I ended up working at Star Wars on Star Wars licensing, outbound licensing. So actually seeking manufacturers to take on the licenses, creating new product programs, marketing programs, activations, working in the fan event, the Star Wars Celebration fan event. So yeah, I did that for about 5 years. Transferred back to Florida, worked at the Disney theme parks one more time, and help work on some product strategies and product lines for the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, which just opened and everyone loves and it's amazing. And then in 2018 started this company along with my husband Orlando, and actually it was his idea that I should start this company because I had been displaced again. They did a reorganization, as many companies tend to do, and I was out without a position, and so that I was like already kind of sort of consulting with people, just keeping my connections active. And he's like, "You're already doing it. Just try your hand. Just try your hand at being a licensing person, an agent, independent." And that's how Fangirl Consulting and Brand Management was born. So yeah, that's a long-winded story, but that's who I am.
Excellent. We actually got a question from the chat. It's from Jessica. She's asking, what have been some of your favorite products you've brought to life in your career?
Thank you for that question, Jessica. Um, Actually, I love one of my claims to fame, along with a team. It wasn't just myself. Was the strategy of bringing the Disney characters with the Star Wars characters overlapped. That mashup, myself and the team that I worked with at Toys at Disney Parks, is like our big claim to fame. Feel like my big claim to fame in the Disney theme parks, and that includes the build your own lightsaber experience. So it started as a one fixture idea at downtown Disney, and the Once Upon a Toy store that is there now was a bigger store then. Now it's a little store, and that was in conjunction at the time with corporate alliance with Hasbro. Before I went to work at Hasbro, and then we took it over in house, did all the design development from there, and it just snowballed. And from one location at downtown Disney, it went to the park location at the attraction, Star Tours attraction. From there, it went to Disneyland. From Disneyland, it went everywhere. So now it's at every Disney theme park all around the world. I love it. It's amazing. One that's very near and dear to my heart because of the experience of it and just how it came to life. And then like these action figures, yes, I'm a total product person, so I brought my samples. So like I didn't do this particular one, but having Jedi Mickey, and I developed actually Jedi Mickey's lightsaber into a real toy lightsaber. Having those action figures, that's what we worked on. I did the potato heads that were very exclusive to the theme parks. I still have all of my original samples.
Oh my
I'm
God.
such a nerd. I keep everything in a box. And so that was the start. Those are some of them near and dear, and I'm really, really proud of those. And I'm also really, really proud of this BB-8. Such a wonderful experience. I learned so much about technology and fan engagement through the product and such. Everybody, it was the number one Star Wars short of that year of 2015 Episode 7 launch, and I can't tell you how many gajillion million BB-8s were created and launched. And thank you everyone who bought one because you kept me employed. And those are just some of the highlights. I've worked on so many things, but I those are the ones that are dear to me. But it's funny because everybody thinks that Star Wars is my number one fandom, but it really isn't. It's just the number one thing that I love because of the opportunities that it has presented to me, for the people, the experiences, the places that I've been, and then the opportunities that it extended to my family, and to my kids, and the things that they've learned that they now are implementing in some of their career aspirations. I feel like that's what I really love most about it, and the people that I've encountered, the friends that I've made along the way. That's what Star Wars means to me as far as my personal experience.
Oh wow, that's beautiful. We do have another question, and I do have actually one before I'm going to ask Timo's question here. So Star Wars isn't your first like isn't your number one fandom. What
Yeah,
it?
I don't know. I love all my children the same. I don't know if I can say that my number one love, but I do love. So I was an anomaly, being first generation in the States, being a woman or girl, in a Hispanic culture. I didn't fit in with anything that people were normally watching, right? And so my family even didn't quite understand me either. So I was watching things like Voltron, Tranzor Z in the States is Massinger Z in other places in the world. I was watching Godzilla. I was watching the old Universal monster movies. I was watching Robotech and Thundercats and GI Joe and all those things. Like those, never mind the kung fu movies. Like, do not sit me in front of a kung fu theater. You know, Drunken Master, like all of that. Those were anything with giant robots and kaiju and probably a kung fu guy. Like those were my jams when I was growing up. Then I just thank you, Sumeri. I see your message. Yes, I do love Aliens, the Alien franchise. I can't tell you. Godzilla, I can't tell you how much I love it. So there's so many things that I love. I think you probably see a commonality that I don't like all the cutesy rainbow stuff. Even Jack Skellington, like Nightmare Before Christmas. I can't tell you how much I love it, and all of the layers of storytelling that go into the Nightmare Before Christmas franchise. And the aesthetics. I absolutely love those things. So yeah, I could probably go on and on and on about a lot of various things that I love, but yeah, those are some of the highlights.
Great. Well, we're going to keep on the theme of what you love because Timo here is asking, what is your favorite Star Wars series or movie?
My favorite Star Wars anything is Star Wars: The Clone Wars animated series, and then my second Star Wars thing after that. I love the video game franchises, like the expanded universe, which is now Legends, but all of those are a pretty good second because I feel like I love the idea of all the expansiveness of all the Jedi, all their stories, all the villains, all the Sith, the lore that we could dive into in the animated series week by week. A lot of it came out later on the Rebels show, which was really incredible. All the clones and their complexities of their personalities and characters, even though they all look the same on the surface. So yeah, Clone Wars is my favorite everything from Star Wars.
That's awesome. We've got quite a few questions to get through with the fans. This one's a bit long, so please forgive me, but TK14057.
Okay.
When did you decide to become self-employed? Did you bounce around some ideas with which career path you want or pursue, or was consulting and brand management something you always wanted to do?
I think I know who that is. I think that's Marcus Doring.
Oh, hi, Marcus.
Yeah. By the way, TK numbers go to the 501st. That is a fan organization, global fan organization. They do a lot of great work. If you've never heard of them, look them up. And I have become friends with some of those along the way due to the Star Wars. Thank you. But so as I became, when I became self-employed, it was actually a result of circumstances. There was some things going on with my parents and my mother-in-law. Like as they became elderly, I basically became unemployed, not by choice. And I needed control over my own time and my own ability to manage my time. And so that decision making was as a result of those, like to become self-employed. Did I think I would ever become self-employed in my career? No. I always thought I'd work for a company or something like that. But what I do, the companies are not here in Orlando, right? They're based somewhere else. They're like LA, New York, some other places. But they're not in Orlando, and I couldn't move at the time. So as a necessity, I had to create my own space. I had to create my own thing. But I also centered it around, like, I don't want to be just another agent, like doing, not to disparage anyone else, but mainstream stuff. I was like, I want to build it around what I love, and that's pop culture and fandom and the fan engagement stuff and whatever. And I know that there were a lot of companies that they would come to me and ask me advice when I was at these fan conventions, like, how do you do this? How do you negotiate that? So I know there's a whole community of manufacturers or brands that didn't know how to get their stories told or their products made or whatever. And I felt like that was a niche I could fulfill. And so that's why that's the focus of our company. And that's why I am called the fan, I am a fangirl. Every Friday I was always posting Fangirl Friday, happy Fangirl Friday for like 10, 12 years. And so it was just a natural extension of my own personal branding. That's a whole nother live stream to talk about. But I didn't have to explain myself, because once you saw my company name, you knew exactly who I was and what I was about. We could get down to the point of talking about business. So I did ask other people for advice. I did consult with other people. I am part of other professional organizations like Women in Toys. Shout out to Women in Toys. And Jenna, I see you on there. Thank you, honey. And women like Jenna and women like Ashley Mady and Alita Friedman and all those guys, like they gave me my first opportunities. They first of all, and Naz, who gave me amazing advice. And all these women, they held me up, and they didn't just hold me up in lip service. They held me up in financials, which is most important as women and women in business, is to give opportunities that result in real money, right? And so that was the start.
So we do have another question from Kathy. She's asking, you did bounce around, and I'm going to exclude Fangirl, your current company that you've started. What is your favorite place to work so far?
Lucasfilm. When I went to work at Lucasfilm, I felt like I was finally home. I found my niche, I found my place in the world, and I found like-minded people like me. And I found a place where I could go to work and I felt safe, right? And I felt safe in my skin. I felt safe in my mental ability to just like be myself and still do work and still get the results and still, and there were no outside expectations of what I was supposed to look like or behave like, or, those things that were always, I felt, barriers to me in the past. I've had weight issues. I've had, people project their own, like what I'm supposed to be like, or personality like, or whatever on to me. And I felt like those were always barriers. But also being an Hispanic woman in the States in business, when your parents are not even educated, like barely educated. And for instance, my father was illiterate, right? Like they can't give me advice on how to network. They couldn't give me advice on how to find my way in business, right? So I was a little rough around the edges, and I know that, and some of my friends will attest to that. But when you have good mentors along the way, and you're able to take in information, polish off yourself based off of that feedback and come out a little bit more positive, then you can learn and keep going. But it was rough. It wasn't easy. But yeah, Lucasfilm was where I ended up like really finding where I had my place in the world.
Well, do you have advice for young professionals who are also facing these boundaries and might be feeling these same hesitation to really express themselves in the workplace? Do you have anything for them?
Yeah, it's hard. It's not, I hear you. I recognize you. It's hard to be your authentic self, to come to work, and have these experiences. And then, a lot of times people who look like me, brown skin, wild hair, all that stuff, they think those jobs are for them. That's for those other people over there, right? They're for those white people or for the blonde hair people or for the whatever fill in the blank people, but it's not me.
Hmm.
And so that is hard, but you also have to look at yourself as to how do you contribute to the conflict,
Mhm.
right? And also like, are you coming off too strong? Do you have to, yes, sometimes you have to modulate your tone or your voice or how loud you are, whatever, but in the end, you have to also make sure you use the system to your advantage. You can't always butt your head against the system and say, I'm going to change the world. You have to, you might change the world, but you might have to do it, little by little, or you might have to use the system and beat people at their own game using the system they created for you. Right. And so that's where you have to also understand when to turn things on in full force, when to pull them back, and also align yourself with like-minded people. Find people who are safe to vent to. If you
Mhm.
just shut the door, I just need 5 minutes. Or if they are good mentors to you or willing to open a door for you. I had wonderful opportunities because each time a person was willing to invest in me and crack a door. They didn't do the work for me, but they cracked an opportunity for me. It was my job then to come through, but also do right by their investment of time and faith in me. And I couldn't burn them by going off and try to do whatever it was I want to do and, break some molds and do it. I had to do right by them and their investment in me. And that's how I felt like I returned that investment.
So you have found success in, or you're finding success in licensing. Is that something that you've always wanted to do, or how did you fall into this?
Now, everybody in licensing falls into licensing. And like nobody, and anybody who's on the line who does licensing can attest to this. There is not one person who has ever said that they went to school for licensing and they're doing everything that they were educated for.
Hmm.
No, nobody, there's no coursework for that. So what you can have coursework in is like business or industrial design if you want to be a designer, or graphic design if you want to, make apparel and t-shirts and or packaging and boxes and different things like that. So there's ways into licensing, but I never went to school saying I want to be licensing. I actually started off wanting to be an astronaut. Like I wanted to be on the space shuttle in the space program and all, but I couldn't because of my vision. It's not 2020, So you have to find other things to fulfill those dreams, right? And I happened to fall back. I got a business degree, business management, concentration in international business. I thought I was going to work in some kind of international conglomerate or do something like that. But Disney still allowed me to still utilize my degree and still tap into what I didn't even know I had, was just creativity. All of the stuff that I had been reading and watching and all these things in the background of my brain, finally, I was able to find an outlet for all that, and still mash it with the business side. So that was how I got into licensing essentially. I actually did not do one speck of licensing until I got to Lucasfilm. I had to be taught how to negotiate deals, how to, do a deal memo, like all that stuff. I didn't know any of that.
Yeah.
But I did know product and I did know fans and I did know how to do storytelling in your product and branding. So I could learn something else.
That's awesome. Thanks for the love, guys, by the way. More on the licensing. We have, I'm so sorry if I botched your name, Goroli here asking, what is your favorite thing about the licensing industry and what is your least favorite thing?
My most favorite thing about the licensing industry are the people. I love the connections. I love the challenges too. When you're trying to build up a new program or a new idea and you try to find a new product type and all that, like the creativity. I love the creativity in it that I've been able to even express in my own, like just job and different things that I feel like I find creativity in the business. Even you might not think that business can be creative, but when you're trying to find a new product type for a brand that has like Star Wars, like has been around for a long, long time, you're
Mhm.
like, oh, I still have to make new numbers this year. So where am I going to find the new gem? So, always looking for something new, keeping up on new technology and whatever to kind of find those pieces of business opportunities. So that's what I love most. What I hated the most was actually when I was first starting out. It's changed a lot. but I was one of the youngest people in the room. I was one of the darkest people in the room, and I was probably one of the few women in the room.
Mm,
Right? Sometimes I was all three, but so it's changed a lot. And so it was hard to always have to justify myself to, I'm going to say it, old white men who, were trying to tell me, well, little girl, this is how we always do things, right? Or this is how we do things, for sales or whatever. And I just was not going to hear it,
mm,
because I knew that whatever we did previously was not always going to work for a nerd piece,
mm.
right? For growing business, you can't continue to do things always the same way. Now, were there kernels of knowledge that they could share with me? Yes, that's fine. But there was that all like, pat you on the head, like, this is the way we do things. And I was like, screw you. I'm actually the one in control here. Guess what? Because you're calling upon me. So that means that places me in a position of power and authority.
Mhm.
Um, and so, I kind of had to own that and learn how to own it properly without abusing. You have to
Yeah,
also not abuse. So,
excellent. So diversity in toys. Are we seeing more of that? Since it sounds like when you started off, there wasn't.
yeah. No, people thought bilingual packaging was diversity in toys. So, yes, we are seeing a lot more of that now, like the Healthy Roots doll. There's a lot more women, of course, in licensing and in the general toy industry. There are lots more, but there could be more diversity. There could be more diversity in storytelling, in the types of properties that are being represented. And I'm fortunate that I've been able to accumulate some of those as clients and friends. Like La Borinqueña is one independent comic book that we, Puerto Rican superhero that we are now representing from a brand perspective, and we're going to, build out that licensing program. So if anybody has a manufacturing opportunity, hit me up. We are working on, with Mass Republic on their Expo Lucha live event, but then also with now their licensing program, which is all lucha libre. And I love lucha libre. I love pro wrestling too. Um, so we have some opportunity there with talking to other people, bringing them into the fold. And it seems like the universe has decided that we are the, minority licensing agency of the United States. So some of them are finding us, but we're happy to help and we're happy to tell these stories because everybody needs them. More diversity in the storytelling and the content that's out there only educates people, only makes the world smaller. So
Oh, well, you've mentioned some projects. Are there any other projects that are in the works that you can kind of tell us about?
let's see. So we just came off, and you would know this, Sonia, because you helped a lot with that. We just came off of a huge project with Mass Republic for Expo Lucha Virtual. So we're hoping that in the future we can get back to being in a live venue, have all these matches, have all these wonderful, larger than life luchadores, and bring all the families together and have a great time. So we're hopefully looking forward to that soon.
Mhm.
Um, I work on ODB, Old Dirty Bastards. So that's a client and a brand of ours that we represent as well. So some hip hop programs there. We do have a collaboration coming out. I won't totally spoil it. So the announcement will come soon in about a month or so, but it has to do with some ice cream.
Ooh.
Uh, that should be fun. And, La Borinqueña is going to keep us busy. I believe, there's a lot going on there. Um, lots of new programs. So I just keep up on the social media, y'all, because oh yeah, Cup of Therapy. Thank you. Somebody reminded me. Cup of Therapy, our mental health brand that we love and represent from Finland. They just launched at Hot Topic. So everybody go get your Cup of Therapy t-shirt. Because those are really great messaging. We all need a little bit of therapy this year after the pandemic. And they're very positive. The images are very positive, and the messaging is positive. So all that reinforcement we could use. So Hot Topic just launched this week. Thank you, Hot Topic, for persevering with us through this pandemic, and Samantha, who did all the work.
Okay, I'm going to reference the chat here one more time in Instagram. We've got Mark Edwards asking, "Are you an Indiana Jones fan?" I guess we've been sharing too much love with Star Wars.
Yeah, I am an Indiana Jones fan. I actually have my nice Indiana Jones hat as well that John Cooley made for me one year. It's amazing, and I wore it at Halloween time this year in one of my live streams.
Ooh.
So actually, thank you for passing me this. This is an old project I worked on. I'm trying to get the glare out, But this is a mashup between GI Joe, Indiana Jones, and it was only available at the Disney theme parks. So to support the Indiana Jones ride. So this is the Indiana Jones action figure, 6 inch. And then we did an African American version. And these are limited, obviously. They're not around anymore. They were just for the theme park, so never at mass retail. The obviously, the mainstream one sold a little bit more units, and we did more units for him. So the African American one is actually super scarce because we did even fewer units for him as a limited project. So yes, Mark Edwards, I have lots of love for Indy,
Yes.
and I'm looking forward to the new movie. Although I hope uh, everybody can walk properly because they're getting a little older. That's what I'm gonna say.
Kathy says she loves that ride, the Indiana Jones. We're going to backtrack a little bit, I think, to the advice for young professionals. You did mention you didn't start in licensing, you kind of fell into it. Do you have any advice for people who are looking to break into either their favorite franchises, or maybe if they have a toy company that they love, like, and they're not necessarily creative, like how can they be a part of something that they love?
Yeah. When you say creative, do you mean like a designer or drawer or somebody like that? Is that what you mean by creative?
Yeah, like somebody who
Okay.
who they love Star Wars, but they don't have, they're maybe not so good at the acting, or they have no idea how to do the costumes, or it's not something
Yeah.
they're passionate about. Like, how can they be a part of their favorite brands without necessarily having to produce product in a sense?
Yeah. You can actually be a marketer. You could be a bean counter, like an accountant.
Mhm.
You could be a lawyer. There's a lot of need for lawyers in the licensing industry because we all want to protect our rights and our IP, the intellectual property. So there's a lot of need for lawyers in the video game industry, the toy industry, the general licensing. So all of y'all who are interested in being lawyers and you're young, go get an intellectual properties rights degree and you could have a job anywhere. Yeah, so you don't have to be what you think of as creative to be in these industries. We need everybody in these industries as far as like a variety of people. We need, like I said, lawyers, we need accountants, we need marketers, we need financial background people, CFOs, all of that stuff. They need to start somewhere. And not everybody's, doing 3D CAD modeling, if that's what you think you're supposed to be doing.
We do have a question here from Fan Raps. They said, Anita, what was the collab process like working with Parks, LFL, and Hasbro?
That was hard. It was hard. Everything was hard at that time because it was the first time we were doing these things, but again, Daryl DePriest, who ended up hiring me at Hasbro, was not my boss at the time, but he did work at Hasbro. And this was again during the time where Hasbro was a corporate alliance partner for the Disney theme parks. So Daryl was one of our points of contact. He had a great idea. It probably was a mutual idea, but I think he had a great idea for GI Joe figures as an Indiana Jones mashup. And then we had to go to Lucasfilm, both of us, and ask for the permission to, do these figures because again, Lucasfilm was not part of the Disney company at that time, right? So they were actually a licensor to the Disney theme parks, and they were also a licensor to Hasbro. So Lucasfilm was the culmination point. They had to say yes to both of us working together for this project to come to life, and then the product could then be sold into the parks. So they had to say yes to the Indiana Jones license, and yes to Hasbro creating it, and yes to it being developed and sold only in the theme parks. But with Daryl's help, we got that pushed through. And then we developed it in conjunction with them. So the Disney theme parks guys would, give in the Disney, like the designers and the creative guys, as you say, would give in some of the creative aspects of it. And we would look at it from our IP perspective. And then the Hasbro folks would give their perspective. They did a lot of the tooling and some of the engineering and designing because we used their factory in China. And then Lucasfilm would then look at all of it together and say yes or no to certain elements. But it was a great project when it finally came through. It sold, it did its bit. It wasn't as successful as other projects they worked on, like for Star Wars, but because Indiana Jones, the attraction still existed, we had to support that. So we supported it with this, and it did pretty decent though.
Nice. Are there any other collabs? I know you mentioned the Star Wars ones earlier, but any other collabs that you remember that either got you excited or presented some sort of difficulty?
I'm actually going to pull back here. These samples around me. This is one that I really love. This is our Star Wars collab with Santa Cruz. Ooh. So that was the first time that we had collaborated with Santa Cruz, and we had a really authentic line of skateboards for, you know, adults. We did bicycles for adults as well with Huffy. One of the other projects that I really, really love that brought tears to my eyes and still continues to do that was at for episode 7 launch in celebration during the fan event. And there was, you know, the trailer, it was 4,000 people, the arena. And, you know, I had signed a deal with a costume company at the time, high-end costume company. And we debuted the new trooper armor, the new, you know, that was out in the movies that had only been seen in trailers. And then we had 10 troopers come up on stage and reveal that for the first time. And then we got to see, you know, the new expanded troop trailer when Harrison Ford, you know, he's like, "Truly, we're home." Everybody's like bawling and crying. And, you know, it was like an amazing experience. Here I am in this arena with 4,000 other fans, and we're giving them stuff that they love. And they were just so excited. And I was just so excited to be there with them that is like, you know, one of the top billing moments. But I don't know, it's pretty tied with when I was able to actually be on QVC. Like I actually got on QVC, and we were promoting Star Wars at the time as well. But yeah, so I was actually on QVC, and we did a fundraising charity thing with Ashley Eckstein, who I love and am good friends with. And, you know, it was great. It was fantastic. I never thought I'd be on TV either.
What was it like being on QVC?
That's pressure. That is a pressure cooker. Okay. I don't want to be on QVC every day because you have like an earpiece and what they tell you to say, like it's all based off of what the sales reactions are. So you can actually see on there's like a little monitor you can see on the side that says, like, every time you speak, you can see the sales go up or down. Whatever you're saying is people are reacting to that, and they'll dial in and they'll order their item. Or if sales slow down from whatever you're saying, they'll be like, "You got to pick it up. You got to say something else." I was like, this is pressure. Oh my gosh. Like I had to be like completely on. I felt like I had to like suck it into because I was like, oh my God, I want to be skinny on TV. It adds 10 pounds. Like, you know what I mean? I was like,
yeah, oh my God.
These things are running through my brain. I got to represent Lucasfilm well and Star Wars well and talk all the stuff and hype everybody up and sell. It was all for charity, but still it's just like a pressure cooker. It was great, but it was like, wow, I don't want to be this every day.
Was that the craziest thing you've ever done in licensing or?
Probably. Yeah. Oh. I think so. I thought the panels were crazy until I got on QVC. Yeah.
Goodness. We do have another question from the chat here. They're asking, how does Fangirl Licensing collaborate with their current licenses to bring products, services, or experiences to life? What's an example of your favorite outcome of a collab so far? I think we may have answered that earlier.
Maybe. So, okay. So, but how we function today. So we have brands and licenses that we represent. We also represent manufacturers that want to have brands. And so we figure out a strategy with each of those clients and find out what's the right thing, what's the right execution, or if they're a manufacturer, what's the right brand that they want to go after. We help them create their pitch. If they're trying to acquire a license, make sure their product is right on par and, you know, like it's on point. We have to make sure that we have the financials in order, the product strategy in order, the retail strategy in order, how do you sell it? And then marketing too, because you have to tell people, like, you did this project and here it is, and now you have to tell people to go buy it, right? So when you're working from a manufacturing standpoint, that's really high level, but that's more or less how we connect those dots. And if anybody on Boss Fight's on the line, please tell us, because that's who we work with mostly for that. On the other side, if you represent a brand, and I actually have an ODB idea here. So shout out to Super 7, Jen Cassidy and Brian Flynn. We worked with them for ODB to bring to life the first ever collectible action figure for Old Dirty Bastard, and it was great. It was great collaboration, but you have to work with people who understand your brand. You can't. You could try to pitch the top dog in the industry in their category, but they don't always understand what to do with your brand. So you try to find the people who are most like-minded and will understand and grasp again the concept before you have to really explain it to them. So as a brand, when you're pushing out your brand, it's called outbound licensing. You go out and you set a strategy. I want these categories. I want my product to be in these types of retailers. And it have to drop around these types of moments in time because they make sense for anniversaries or various things like that. Marketing, if there's a new movie coming out, you want a product to drop when the movie comes out, right? Not after the movie comes out, unless, it's a refresh. Um, so, you have to figure out all those strategies ahead of time. Then you go off and you seek out the right people to collaborate with and take the license on you to do some negotiations. My job as a brand representative is to get as much money as possible for my brand. The manufacturers, when I represent those, my job is to keep as much money as possible for my clients, right? So I'm kind of working both sides sometimes. But so you find a licensee, you find a manufacturer to take on that license, you collaborate with them on their product, you review the product along the way, the samples, make sure they're on brand, on par. Of course, you're working with your licensor because your licensor has to always, the brand owner has to always be involved and included and
Mhm.
have an opinion. And sometimes you're educating the brand owner as well on like why this is right, why this is wrong. And then, when the product is made and created and manufactured, then there's the launch strategy. It goes out to market, whether it's at a retailer, physical retailer, or online, depending on which way to go. And you have to figure out the right strategies to launch it. Like if it's a collectible, sometimes there's a pre-order strategy and then there's a refill fulfillment strategy. If it's right, at brick and mortar, then, like in the actual physical stores, then you got to figure out how to tell people and drive people to the location to, go put your product in danger of being bought, which is a phrase I got from Paul Southern. So, he always told us you have to make sure you put the product in danger of being bought.
That's some great advice. Just because we're getting near the last 15 minutes or so.
Oh my gosh, this was quick, quick.
Yeah, yes, it does. Live stream. Why
Yeah.
did you start the live stream?
Um, During the pandemic, things were slowing down for a lot of people, and including ourselves.
Mhm.
And I wanted to find a way how to keep top of mind. And I also not only for myself, my company, but also for my clients, so that when things came around and people were opening up again, this was hopefully a way to highlight who they were and what do they do, and then people would come back and say, "Hey, I saw you talk to so and so about this idea or what have you." So, and then I also wanted to like showcase some of my friends that do great work and don't always have an opportunity to be showcased, whether they're behind the scenes as a person, like Christine Taylor, who works at Hallmark, and thank you for being a part of live streams. And she's a I wanted to highlight people in fandom, working in fandom, but doing real jobs, like real business, and show that there are career opportunities in the real world, that you can have a life and have an income and have a stable, like financial situation and still do some kind of fun, cool, funky things that you love. And so that was kind of the premise. And then, kind of snowball from there. So it's been great. It's been really fun. Being able to talk to some of my friends that I don't get to talk to unless they're just at conventions. So that's my con family. And also highlight like real business, and the work that goes into it, and also a little bit of education for some folks that are not even in the industry at all, but showing them how difficult it is to actually make one action figure, right? Like what does it take to you know make these Zorro action figures, and the steed, and the packaging and the tooling and all the things that go into it, but then also showcasing a lot of the talent that's out there, and some of the indie, just indie talent and stuff that people don't always hear about.
Do you have any great memories from the live streams that you want to share with us?
They're all pretty good memories. I can't pick one, to be honest. I'll come back to me on that one. I might have to think a little bit, but Anyway, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know. You know what? I think one of the biggest live stream people we had was um, the nacelle company, Brian Volkweiss. He was probably our top billing towards the end of the year last year, and he's behind, the movies that made us, the toys that made us. So, you know, thanks, Brian, for coming on. That was really fun to talk to you as a person, knowing that you're like this person in the background where everybody like, oh, you're the toys that made us guy, but he was so down to earth and he was so great. And I feel like having a strong name like that really also gave us validity in the space of like, hey, we got some cool information and cool people that we know.
Awesome. Is there any any thoughts of expanding the live stream or any
I would love to. I mean, I want to do eventually. I want to do simulcast on multiple platforms. YouTube, Facebook. We're experimenting with today. Besides Instagram, maybe even I don't know LinkedIn Live. Who knows? But I'd love to take this on the road. I keep getting told no, we shouldn't, but I'm gonna still keep pushing because I've always been told no. I want to take it live and do like a panel or do like broadcasts from like um like a toy fair or licensing expo or like trade show places like that. But then also I want to go to cons and like New York Comic Con or San Diego Comic Con or any place like that. Take it and go live and do like an hour session or what have you, and it's a panel, but it's really a Fangirl Friday live, right? And we're just doing it live. And we're gonna, have some fun with it. We did with Women in Toys. We actually did a panel, which was great. It was a career panel on from fangirl to girl boss, right? How do you actually turn your passion into a career? We had some really good panelists there. We had Marissa DiBartolo from the Pop Insider. We had Diana from Warner Brothers and Christine Taylor from Hallmark, and then myself as a moderator. And we talked about our stories and talked about Women in Toys, who sponsored the panel. And, we had some really great, lots of standing room only at the panel event in New York Comic Con. So it was really great to see a lot of people turn out for it, and they just loved it, and we loved doing it. So I want to do some more of that kind of stuff.
Do you miss the live events? You miss the panels and going to Comic Con?
I do. I do miss the like being with the fans and feeling that energy with them. And I love when they don't know that I worked on something and they're just like expounding on whatever that project was, and they're like, and then the features and this and this, and I'm like, really? Yeah, not to be a jerk, but because I really want to hear what they have to say. But it really makes me feel good too when they absolutely love what we all have worked on, and they don't know who you are, and they're just like, they become like your ambassadors. Like that's what I always say, the fans become your fan ambassadors for you if you do your job right. And that I love, and I miss that kind of stuff, and being in the mix with them and seeing all the costumes and all the work that they do. That's why I love the Her Universe pageant, the fashion show. It's amazing. Ashley does a great job with it, and the Hot Topic team does a great job with it. But everybody gets to, you could be a cosplayer and submit your concept, and then all of a sudden you're designing something for Hot Topic, as a reward. So, but the creativity in those designs is just off the charts. It's incredible. So I miss that stuff. But we also want to do some more with the live stream. So I think we have an announcement of ideas that we want to put forward. So Sonia, you tell them.
Yeah, so we are looking for new ideas for the live stream. So if you have any shout outs, like if there's somebody you want to see, or if there's a company you want us to get in touch with, or if there's just other ideas, like should we do more unboxings? Should we get a little experimental with Fangirl? Like give us your opinions, let us know. You can hit us up in the DMs on Instagram. You can also message us over Facebook, LinkedIn. And yeah, I think that's all of our social medias, or you can leave a you can leave a comment in the YouTube link when this video goes live.
Yep. We definitely would love to do more of all of those things and collaborating. So submit your name, submit your company, submit your content. We'll take a look at it. Sometimes we may or may not be able to feature you just for various reasons, or whatever the intent is of what we're trying to get across for those particular weeks. But we'll also try to do more of, like, we did a Halloween special, and we did like a holiday special last year on like gift giving and stuff like that. So we, we want to work some more on those types of ideas. So bring it on, everybody. Hopefully we'll have some more fresh new ideas for you and fresh new faces to, go along. But wow, this went really quick. No wonder all my guests are saying, "Oh my gosh, that was so quick."
Yeah, it does. And thanks to you, Vox Pop, for all the love. Meant to say that earlier.
Yes.
Millions of hearts you sent. That is
wonderful. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, and Orlando was mentioning we need to remind people stop by Facebook. We do also post up there and give you guys updates. So if you're not on Instagram all the time.
Yep. I think Mass Republic was in there somewhere as well. And we have some, we're very fortunate. We're very fortunate that we have lots of good friends, lots of good colleagues and clients that we work with that are probably our friends anyway. And, and so thank you all for following us along and supporting us in a personal way and also in a business way. We've actually are going to we already hit 3 years if you didn't see our social media post, but we did 3 years, April 20th of Fangirl Friday Live or whatever. It's only been a year. May 4th will be our 1 year anniversary of Fangirl Friday Live. So Star Wars Day, here we come. Again, we're going to do a throwback, I think, to that. But, again, thank you all for supporting us. Thank you for showing up for this. I was a little bit afraid nobody was going to show up. It was going to be a really short session. And and we will see you soon. So happy Fangirl Friday. Thank you for supporting Fangirl Friday Live. And we'll see you next week with another new, fresh idea for Fangirl Friday. And if not, it's going to be a rebroadcast. So be careful. Wear a mask, wash your hands, get vaccinated, everybody. Thank you.